Hello, welcome back. Day off, so I'm going to try and get some chess in today. And we get the black pieces. D4, let's play a Dutch. Interesting. Just, I assume he develops there only to keep the bishop open. I'm just going to continue with my plans. Encadering my bishop. Normally the knight here helps prevent black's e5 push. I suppose he can push f4 to try and clamp down on e5. My d6 just is supporting my e5 push, which I'm going to do next if he doesn't stop it with f4. Yeah, we'll just push in the center. I don't need to support it anymore. Takes, takes. The queens stare each other down. He'll probably develop here. Queen b3 is a natural place for it, and it would definitely pressure this. So I think I would need to go. Okay, he doesn't trade. He just closes off his own bishop. That seems very anti-positional. I thought maybe queen b3 was a better try here. But okay. I don't need to keep pushing. This keeps the knight out for now. I can push later if he wants to push f4. So let's just develop the knight, maybe here and here. Let's bring the knight out. I could plan it on b6 and have a little Alkine knight there. Threaten this. I think he's got an adequate defense for that, though. He just defends with the queen. Probably queen c2, not d3, because that becomes a problem. Okay. So he's threatening to come into this square. The e6 square is weak and he's going to fork these. So I need to open this back up to my bishop. And if knight here takes, and then c6 to blunt this bishop. He tries to chase me with b4. I've got a6. And that knight's really displaced, but It doesn't work over here. I lose a pawn. I lose a piece. No, I lose a pawn. I do lose a pawn over here. At a6 and then a3. Then maybe I'm looking at e4. E4 seems pretty straightforward and crude with my intentions, though. I think you can just defend it. And then slide his rook over. It's a pretty transparent threat. I'd like to wait and not push that immediately. He kicks a knight. Make him decide what he wants to do here. Or then this. Get the knight out of there. Make him decide where this knight's going. If he had come forward, that pawn would likely fall in the future. Now I have an attack on the knight. So I can push this pawn with purpose and tempo and not be quite so transparent with my attack. I want to set up double attacks. He can bring the knight here. Let's come right back into this. So I think I'm going to leave this pawn B for now still. As tempting as this would be a very natural looking move, but what purpose? What does it allow white to do? And the timing isn't right for me. I've got to, if it were a double attack, that'd be one thing, but I don't think I push just yet. Could keep rolling the pawns. That is generally the idea in the Dutch. Swing my queen over to the light square diagonal here and roll these pawns forward. I need to do something with this knight. Hmm. Plans. What are my plans? Just keep pushing this pawn. I can push the G pawn, threaten to push the F pawn again. That is the spirit of this opening. I think I'm going to start out by getting my queen in position to come in. Lots of attacking ideas with this. That shuts his dark square bishop out of this diagonal. But I think it's his intention to bring it over here anyway. And that does prevent me from pushing F4 immediately, at least. I already had ideas of G4, though. That does provide support to D4 if I push E4. So what if I push G4 and then threaten to push G5 and then G4? Kingside pawn storm. Okay, he got his bishop into play. Now am I prepared to push F4? Queen H5, knight G4 and E4. That gets stopped with, let's see, Queen H5. He moves the knight, threatens a queen trade. I can just come here, block, but then he kicks the knight. We haven't traded any pawns yet. That's odd. I push the pawn. He takes, and I take towards the center, and he takes, I take. I'm left with an isolated F pawn. Open E and G files. This diagonal's closed at the moment. It gets my bishop open and into the action if I want it. Let's live on the edge a little bit. Let's push F4. I think that's the move. Gets my bishop into the game. And queen can come here, bishop can come here, or knight. Probably knight. It's a bigger threat. Here. Although I don't have any pawns to kick this knight out anymore. If we trade and trade. I might have been a premature charge. But I do like the idea of getting my bishop up here. And nothing says I have to take back the second time either. I can take towards the center. You can take. And I can push. Now I need to get my king out of the way. Think about swinging my rook over to the g file. Ideas of queen h5. Okay. So I don't have to take that. I can push. If I push, I kick his knight to here or here. I don't think I want to take it. It stays a target, so, but then my e-pawn also, if I push, it becomes weak. It can be taken, but I'd drive this knight away, at least temporarily. I'm going to push the pawn, kick the knight, because I want it to leave the defense of the king. I need to weaken the protection of this square. And then I'm going to come in and attack the queen. And then maybe drop back to defend the pawn. No, he pins it. Okay. 1-2 attackers and 1-2 defenders. That well, let me come here. Or here. I come here and he brings the knight back to d2. Our queens are looking at each other. Block with the knight, but then he kicks the knight. But queen here, knight here. There are 3 attackers and only 2 defenders. So I am going to lose that pawn, but I've displaced his. Pinned it. There's only 2 attackers at the moment. What if I attack the pinned knight? I'm going to pin the knight. I pin the knight first, and then bring the queen behind to h5. That keeps the queens from seeing each other. So I can look at queen to g6 here. He decides to take the pawn. Okay. The knight is gonna be pinned to the queen. The bishops are gonna be staring each other down. What about queen here? Knight here. I think I need to go queen to h5. So I don't want to allow the knight here and here. And then he can kick the bishop. Queen h5, h3 kicks the bishop. I'm down to 210. And what? Then I take the knight. Bishop takes. That's the only logical way forward. Keep things complicated and make him calculate. Under 2. I mean, he kicks, I can just take it. I don't need to think that through very heavily. Takes. Takes. And that's all even. It's an equal trade. So so he can't kick the bishop. If he takes the knight, I take back. Okay, he attacks the queen here. And I didn't want to allow the tempo there. He still got that knight move, but well, he doesn't because it's pinned. But now he can kick the bishop. And what do I do then? Attack the knight. Takes, takes, takes. This is supported. To bring it back. Minute. Okay. I have to move. And I have to move quickly. 1 minute on my clock. I'd like to get this open. I'd also like to just get my king out of the way and get a rook over here on the G file. My other rook on the F file. If I move this knight, he's likely going to swap off my bishop. Unless I can do it with a discover, moving my knight to somewhere. Um, this poor knight over here is pretty useless. I don't have time to get him in the game at the moment, but as soon as I can, figuring out a way to get him active again might be helpful. I do enjoy these Leningrad positions. They're quite messy and fun to play, but it's a razor's edge, and sometimes you get cut. Sometimes you end up in a worse position. I don't think I'm absolutely terrible here. I'm down a pawn in material, but or 2 pawns. Am I down 2 pawns? I am down 2 pawns in material, but there's doubled here. I've got a minute on my clock. What to do? What to do? What to do? Let's trade this knight. If he takes the bishop, I have to take with the king or the knight. Probably the knight. Think maybe he's considering taking the knight. Then I can take with the queen. Bishop, king takes. Got this very strong battery here. I'm not really threatening to take his knight. I'm going to take the pawn with the knight if he doesn't take that. Either one. I can't imagine him not trading off pieces, though. I would trade the bishops if I were him. So I'm going to take with the knight to avoid any tempo gaining checks on the king. And I'm going to put my knight back here and threaten this again. Although I could have just taken it with the queen. Might be getting into some trouble here. He stacked his rooks. And he's threatening. Oh, he's threatening bad things. Bad things. Very bad. Terrible, horrible, no good, very bad things. Rook here is devastating because the queen coordinates here. Challenge it with the rooks. Bring the rook in. put our other rook to work. I don't want to think too much, waste too much time. If I can get to start with this light square bishop, that'd be a big victory for me. Oh, I don't know if I want to trade the piece off. It's a very strong knight. My king is super exposed. He liquidates. Oh, okay. Gonna trade queens. I don't want to trade queens. Because he's up a pawn now. I've won one pawn back, but I'd like to leave some material on the board for counterattack. And I need to get this knight into the game now. It's a very strong knight. I don't think I want to trade it. Unless he forces my hand. He could retreat his knight. And then I've got to do something. I'd probably take it for the bishop. He's threatening to come in here or come here. Hmm. I feel like I'm in trouble. Yikes, yikes, yikes. We're going to take 24 seconds. Just need to get that knight active. Going to push here, try to undermine this. Get a little sneaky with the bishop. Okay, that's a fork, and that is bad news bears. This is also a fork, and dang it. Gotta move. 12 seconds. That just gave him the pawn. Um, just gave him the pawn. So he takes, and I come here. I think that's no, because then no, okay, the bishop's got that square. Yeah, I come here, bring the queen to the dark square, attack the knight, and then try to break over here. I don't know what else to do. I think I've put myself in too much time pressure. I'm going to try and rattle off a couple of quick moves to build up a little more time. I mean, he could just trade. Yeah, the knight has protection on the bishop. Knight takes queen here, and the other knight comes in. Just bring the other knight in, but that does leave a check. Still got to try and break here. He doesn't have to take though, and that's like that would be a huge mistake for him to take. I'm just trying to get some moves in. If I can deflect the queen, now he trades queens. Okay, so we're in a minor piece endgame, and I am down 2 pawns. King is on this side though, so well, that wasn't great. Let's see, how do I can win 1 pawn at least. He's going to win this one. I'm going to get this one with check and guard this one. To deal with these 2 pawns. He protects it. He can take it, and he threatens that. Yuck. He left me with the bishop. Gotta be careful not to get my pieces forked. That would be a bad deal. Leaving me with the knight would have been a much more difficult task. I've got hope with the bishop. I pick up a pawn here. So will he. Let him have that one. Oh, if I get through this, it's going to be by the skin of my teeth, and I don't know that I can. It's not a definite, and it's going to be hard work. And I think white is just winning here with accurate play. But it might be pretty easy for him to blunder some pawns here. I don't want to trade my bishop off. I need my bishop to collect pawns. All of his pawns are on dark squares. I need him to move them to light squares. Ah, gotta keep an eye on my time. I'm in so much trouble. So much trouble. You just march these pawns. Like, not that one, but this one. There is no hope here, I don't think. No. Give him the pawn and he protects this one. This is over. Good game. Opponent was very strong in that end game. I had a blunder. My opponent had one miss and four inaccuracies. Good game. White had the edge throughout most of the game, and that is expected in this. It's a book line. I'm unfamiliar with that book line. I'm gonna have to look into that. All my knight moves were questionable. Didn't like this knight because it does, I mean, the knight does end up over here on the side of the board for most of the game, and it's not a great piece after that. So I'm right to push on e5. It's inaccurate for him to push, which I agreed with. I thought he should have taken. Instead of the knight move, Maybe I push here, keep pieces out of this square. It's good. It's a good idea. He wants me to push a5. Maybe to secure this for my knight. Okay. And again, it thought that was questionable because it's going to get kicked. But I can't just allow that knight to come in there and set. So if the knight just goes back to its original square, that's okay. It does want me to set up the little Alcon knight there. B6 and attack this. Provokes B3. And this knight hangs, but I need to clear space before it's actually a threat. Okay. I didn't like my push here. That's a mistake. I give him a 1.2 edge. I probably should have pushed here. Kick that knight out now. It's thinking awful hard. It's good. It's a good idea. Not a great idea. Probably developing the bishop or what? Maybe the bishop here so I can push C. Yeah, that's the best move. Bishop D7. Want to prepare and push C6 and get my bishop opposing his. And another mistake, not taking back. I thought that was a cute move, but it was not accurate. Take back. Or ignore. Want me to ignore? Also a mistake to take back. Develop the knight. In the knight. What's the idea here? I like the idea of getting the knight here. Yeah, knight h5 is best. And then I can bring my knight to f4, attacking this bishop. White still has an edge, but that was a miss. Oh, yeah. I did expect that move. Because that eye's a very nice square for the knight. Blunder, pinning. Blunder. Is it still to bring the knight? No, because my queen's. I got myself in trouble here. This is not the best move. It's a mistake. Not a blunder, but surely it doesn't want me to take the two minors for the queen. Or maybe this is still the idea. Yeah, knight h5 is still the idea. Abandon the pawn. If knight takes queen here, then knight here. So no, not queen here. Knight just takes this pawn anyway. No, my queen's under threat. I need to do something about that. Queen here. And then knight here. Okay. And I think I'm in trouble from here on out. Knight back here. Knight back here. Knight takes, bishop takes. That would have been a much better position, although I'm still losing. 3.7. And then once the rooks are off the board, I don't think I have much of a chance anymore because the 2 pawns are just too strong. I'm just overwhelmed here in the end game. Too many pawns, too many things for my bishop to have to keep track of. Well, that was fun. Thanks for coming to watch some chess. I'm going to brush up on my Leningrad some more, and you'll see it again in the future. It wasn't a terrible game, but it was messy. And white had the edge for a good chunk of the game. But thanks for watching. Come back and watch some more chess.